This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Jesus gave me the light. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, Jesus gave me the light. I'm gonna let it shine. Jesus gave me the light. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Good morning, Journey and Perfect Faith community and FOJ's friends of Journey. This is Rick.
And Jacob.
We are here to welcome you to this gathering. And we are starting a new series about letting your light shine. And today is the first Sunday of that series. And we're talking about you being the light of the world. We're starting a fundraiser this Sunday, August the 30th. You'll see it in emails and flyers and all kinds of information about how to donate and what it's for. We are catching up with 2020 up to now and then getting all of our funds together to launch into the rest of 2020. Whether we're together in the same room or not, there is Journey work to be done and Journey's light to shine. So we will be letting you know about that. If you want to give right now, you can go to our website. There's a link at the bottom, which he knows about. And you can go there and donate, and we are happy that you will do that. We feel really good about how we use money in our faith community, so you are welcome. Also, today we are thanking Woody Jones, Ann Lowe, Margaret Zimmerman, and Julie Potts for their service as shepherds for the last few years. They've done a beautiful job, especially during all this transition we've been going through. And we welcome new shepherds, which we'll talk about in the next few weeks. I think that's about all the welcoming we're supposed to do. Is there any other information to cover?
This is a safe space. You are welcome here, no matter your race, religion, your sexual orientation, any of it. Nothing's going to keep you out of this space.
Welcome. So we're going to breathe now. Along with the theme of letting your light shine, we have lots of light today. Jacob's going to light some beautiful candles that Christina and I brought back with us from our Israel trip last January. These come from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and other sacred sites, and we are using them as part of our worship today. And I'm going to ring the singing bowl. It's a time to take a breath. And if you're wondering about why we're carrying guitars, just prepare your singing voices for later on in our worship today. So take a breath. Welcome.
Welcome to another year at Hogwarts. Now, I'd like to say a few words before we all become too befuddled by our excellent feast. First, I'm pleased to welcome Professor R.J. Lupin, who's kindly consented to fill the post of Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Good luck, Professor.
Of course, that's why I need to give you the chocolate, Harry.
Potter! Is it true you fainted? I mean, you actually fainted. Shove off, Malfoy. How did he find out?
Just forget it.
Our care of magical creatures teacher for many years has decided to retire in order to spend more time with his remaining limbs. Fortunately, I'm delighted to announce that his place will be taken by none other than our own Rubius Hagrid. Finally, on a more describing note, at the request of the Ministry of Magic, Hogwarts will, until further notice, play host to the Dementors of Azkaban, until such a time as Sirius Black is captured. The Dementors will be stationed at every entrance to the grounds. Now, whilst I've been assured that their presence will not disrupt our day-to-day activities, a word of caution. Dementors are vicious creatures. They will not distinguish between the one they hunt and the one who gets in their way. Therefore, I must warn each and every one of you to give them no reason to harm you. It is not in the nature of a Dementor to be forgiving. But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light.
Hi, I'm Alan.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and we're Journeyers.
In his collection of teachings called the Sermon on the Mountain, Jesus said to his followers, "You are the salt of the earth. If salt loses its taste, how can it be made to taste like salt again? It is no good. The cook throws it out onto the ground and people walk on it. You are like a light, showing God to the whole world. It's not possible to hide a city that is on top of a hill. Everyone all around can see it. That's what you are like. And people don't light a lamp and then put it under a basket. They put the lamp on a table so that it will give light to the whole house."
So, like the city on a hill, and like the lamp lighting the house, let your light shine, so that people all around can see it. Then people will see the good things you do, and the good things you are bringing to the world. And that will show how good our God is. And that God isn't just in heaven, God is here at work through you.
Bye, Journey.
Bye.
Someday war will be a memory in a city with no end. Till then I am still running for the light. I'm all peace on the outside and fury within. Oh Lord, I am still running for the light. Times I turn away when things are going well, and all the times I need you when I cannot help myself. But your open arms, they greet me when I'm crawling back again. Oh for the light. I rise and fall like a wounded dove. There is peace and hope. There is joy in love. When hard times lead to harder and the road has many tears, oh Lord, I am still running for the light. And there's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh Lord, I am still running for the light. In vain I try and hold on to the things I can't control. Like, what if something happened to the ones I love the most? Jesus, how you love me, how you take away my fears. Oh Lord, I am still running for the light. Oh Lord, I am still running for the light. Oh Lord, I am still running for the light. Someday war will be a memory in a city with no end. Till then, I am still running for the light.
This morning, we invite you to sing along with us. We're going to be singing This Little Light of Mine. But please sing out, sing loud. We want to hear you all the way from Journey. And you're all over the place. You're in Leander, you're in other states. I don't know where you're at, but we want your light to shine with us, and we want to hear you as well. So if this is weird, that's okay. Sing loud. Make sure everyone in your apartment complex and your house hears that you got some light to shine.
All right. So we're going to sing. The first line of each verse will be the line for that verse, and you're going to get it, and it's not hard. And if you've never sung this song before, this is your golden moment. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, just here in Crestview.
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
Nice. Well, my sister and John, her husband, are in Sherman, Texas. What about Sherman, Texas?
Yeah, we'll include that neighborhood. Just if it's your neighborhood, that's the neighborhood we're talking about.
Any neighborhood. Where you are.
Doesn't matter if you're on this side, other side of 35.
Wherever.
Every neighborhood.
Every neighborhood, I'm going to let it shine. Where were we? All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now on this next one, this was exactly what the scripture was talking about.
We did hear this.
Right? So this should be totally familiar. When this song, which was written in the 1920s and then picked up in the civil rights movement of the 60s.
I knew that.
Right? Says, hide it under a bushel.
Nope.
Jesus says, hide it under a basket. You could say, hide it under a bucket. Either way.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do that.
Not
I'm
with
not
this
going to
light.
hide it. No, not in this neighborhood. Not these lights. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Hide it under a bushel. No! I'm going to let it shine. Hide it under a bushel. No! I'm going to let it shine. Hide it under a bushel. No! I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Don't let Satan get out.
Wait a minute.
Do we talk about Satan here?
I mean, that's not really a word that we use in our faith community, even though it's scriptural, but there's so much background around Satan that in modern religion can be really problematic.
Yeah, it's
What's-
not just like the red guy
No.
with the horns.
No. I mean, we could go into a whole thing about how Jesus borrows the idea of the Hasatan, which is in Hebrew, later Hebrew
Okay.
thinking, but how about we just say, you were saying something about what you could interpret as being Satan.
Yeah, like systematic racism or domestic abuse or fill in the blank. If there's anything that is keeping your light from shining, let's say that's what Satan is.
Whatever that is for you, and however you're supposed to feel called to respond with your light, that's what that means for you. Shall we continue? Yes. Don't let Satan put it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let Satan put it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let Satan put it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. I won't be afraid today. I'm gonna let it shine. I won't be afraid today. I'm gonna let it shine. I won't be afraid today. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let's go back to the top. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Shine your light.
Amen.
Amen. So the light of the world. It's sun up here in the Mueller neighborhood of Austin, where Christina and I live. It's beautiful. And people are just getting up. The fisher persons are hitting the water in the big pond early. Fish like to bite early, especially in the summertime, up on the top. The construction workers and the cranes and the trucks are getting started because it's still relatively cool outside. The joggers and the walkers are out. The parents with the little kids so far aren't out. They're trying to make sure the kids sleep as late as possible. It's a time of uncertainty. We're all wondering about how many more people will die. And we're wondering about what's going to happen with schools or our jobs or our bank accounts. We're wondering about how much more our culture will struggle with systemic violence and racism and hatred. Old stories. I think that the season that we are in is like a fever or an ache. And it's bad enough that we are looking at things that are underneath the surface that we haven't had to look at for a while, or at least only the most prophetic among us have been calling out for a while. You know, that hard thing, that ache, that struggle, that the pain, the confusion that finally gets so bad that you go to the dentist or the doctor or the therapist or the psychiatrist and say, I need help, something's not right. That's us right now in our culture. And that's good. It's always good to say, I'm ready for help. And there is always a part of us inside of us that says, I don't want any help. I'm fine. I don't want anything to change. I don't want to take the medicine that's good for me. I don't want to have this illness cut out of me. Just leave me alone. Jesus spoke to a bunch of people who were oppressed. They were living in extremely difficult conditions. They did not know from one day to the next, most of them, whether they were going to be able to eat, but certainly almost all of them, what it was going to be like to be part of oppressed people in an occupied country. A gigantic empire like Rome kept order, and part of the way it kept order was through the constant threat of violence, and through economic oppression, and the presence of armies, and order, and everybody behaving themselves. It was a very, very, very hard way to live. And for people that Jesus was speaking to, they were also people who had a deep belief that God was their God, that their God was the God of the universe, and that their God did not like what was happening to them. They had a deep sense in which things were not as they should be. And most of them, as I say, were living day to day, meal to meal. On top of that, a lot of them were sinners in the sense that they were people who didn't quite fit in, who felt guilty or felt unloved, felt unseen. They were sick in one way or another. They were rejected in many ways. They were people who hadn't made it, didn't fit, weren't wanted. The poorest of the poor, the lowest caste among all the hierarchies, women who were always many steps down in that culture. And Jesus not only spoke to those people, but included those people and attracted those people. Rich people and perfectly functional, happy people, theoretically, were also attracted to Jesus and his message. But you know, when I say we're reading the Bible, what we're doing is we're reading other people's mail and other people's stories. It's not for us primarily, but we get to get in on it. When I look at Jesus speaking to these people, the passage that we're reading today is from a collection of sayings called the Sermon on the Mountain in Matthew. It's really a sermon on a hill. Christine and I were fortunate enough to get to go to the Holy Land and to Galilee up north where Jesus was from this past January. And the mountains are way far away in the east in what is now Jordan. But the hills in Galilee are plenty big. Plenty big. Jesus goes up and sits on one of these little hills, and then the people kind of gather around like this on a big sort of area with a slope. And that way he can speak to them and they can hear him. A lot of scholars that I've looked at have talked about the fact that this is probably not one discourse where Jesus says, okay, I'm going to start, gives this sermon that's 3 chapters long in Matthew, and then says, okay, have a great Sunday, everybody. Instead, what this is a collection of the things that Jesus was teaching in Galilee in that first season of his work. And Matthew takes it and puts it together and says, this is what his teaching curriculum was. This is his platform. And here is this strange, beautiful little thing that he says early in this collection, or in this speech, if he does give it straight through. Okay. He says to this really strange group of people, rich and poor, insiders, outsiders, sinners, losers, people who are not holy and people who are holy, quote unquote good people, quote unquote religious people, and people who are just trying to make it. Somebody who skipped their construction work job to come and hear this guy talk. People who snuck out of their house. People who snuck away from their husbands or defied the rules so that they could come and hear this man talk. And he says to them, you are like salt, and you're the salt that flavors the world. Stay flavorful, stay savory, stay yummy. Your job is to make the world taste and feel different than it would otherwise. These are not educated people, and they are not people of the empire. They are people who are oppressed by and squished by the empire. These are not people that anybody wants. And he's saying to them, you are like the salt of the whole world. And then he says this other beautiful, beautiful image. You're like light. And you are light that shines in the whole world. And the image he uses, or the language that he uses is, you are the light of the cosmos. Light in this case is just what you think about light. It's the light of the sun. It's the light that comes from a fire. It's the light that radiates. It's the light that emanates. It's the light that lights up darkness. But there's another level of that word, which means it is knowledge. It's delight, light, not meant to be a pun. It's joy, and it's freedom. Something hurts, I've put off going to the doctor, I've put off going to the therapist, I've put off going to a wise friend, I've put off going to 12 steps, and finally I can't take it anymore, and I go see somebody who can help me, and it's as if light shone in the dark. Light. Healing. Hope. He says to this ragtag group of losers, right? The way the world measures people, the way the empire measures people. You are the light of the whole cosmos, not just the world as in the world that you can see around you. Cosmos in Greek denotes all things seen and unseen, the order of all things, all of the created order, everything as it fits together that God has made. And it also suggests the powers that be. Do you know the powers that be? Of course you do. They're the ones who run advertising and the economy and the government and morals. The powers that be are the powers, the systems, the way things work that tell us who we can and can't be and what we can and can't be. And if we do not understand that Jesus is always, 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 always in opposition to and against the powers that be, then we do not understand Jesus. He is always against the systems. If the systems oppress people and lock people out and shame people. And that's a lot of what systems do, isn't it? So that there will be order, so that everyone will behave, so that people won't cause too much trouble or find too much joy, just enough joy to keep them happy enough, so that they'll go to work and behave themselves, drive trucks, make their deliveries. Have you noticed that we are in a time in which the powers that be and the ways that the world works are upended? And so much of the powers that be, the cosmos, so much of those systems and the people and the power structures that run them are panicking because the way it works is not working. Jesus says, you are the light of the world, and that means that the things that are a certain way in the world, when when it works the way that it sort of always works, your job is to upend those things and challenge those things and make those things threatened. That song, This Little Light of Mine, was written as a Sunday school song by a music minister and teacher back in the 1920s. And then that song was picked up by civil rights workers in the 1960s. And it became an anthem of the movement that said, everybody gets in on the American dream, not just the people who have power already, not just the people who have this color skin, not just the people who have access to the hierarchies that run everything. So my showing up and saying this system needs to be reformed and there are things about it that can be better, and I'm going to shine my light into the darkness of what is not healthy, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I won't let anything blow it out. I will not hide it under a basket. I am going to let it shine. It is an act of defiance. It is a way of saying it does not matter to me what the systems say to keep me and others in darkness. This little light of mine, I am going to let it shine. Jesus says to his people, now, a city up on a hill, it can't be hidden. That's what you are like, he says. You are like a city up on a hill, and at night, when the lamps are lit, when people are walking around with their lanterns and their torches and their lamps, everybody all around that hill can see it. You, Jesus says to his people, cannot hide your light. There's nothing you can do but radiate. You are following me and you are living meaningfully and you're living with this big, hopeful belief that God is good, that God is loving, that you matter, that God wants something good in the world. Jesus calls the kingdom of heaven or the reign of God. You cannot be hidden. Now, sometimes we want to hide our light, especially if it's something that maybe we need to shine light on and it's a little awkward, or maybe we just don't want much attention. Jesus said, stop doing that. I mean, you can't help it anyway. You cannot not radiate. It's not possible for you not to be the sun. You are like a lamp. You are like light. You are like healing. You can't not do that. It's not an option for you. Sorry. If you wanted to hide. When Journey was first starting, I read an article by my dear friend Gordon Atkinson, who wrote Real Life Preacher. And he said, you know what? He was a pastor then, and he said, you know what? If somebody were asking me in another city what kind of church to look for, and I were thinking about the kind of church that I believe in, I'd first tell them not to look for one that advertises or has a big banner. I'd look for one that you have to look for a little bit. I'd look for one that's a little quiet, that's not ostentatious, that doesn't take itself too seriously, and so on. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And it got me thinking early on, how much should Journey advertise and how much should Journey self-promote? And lots of us had come from the powers that be kind of churches and religious systems that are very much reflective of the empire. They look like society looks. They value what society values. They value all kinds of things. If you've had experiences with church, quote unquote, you may already have a sense of your experience around some of that. Numbers, money, butts in pews or seats, success, conversions, programs, how busy are you? I mean, I'm not sure that those things necessarily shine any light into the culture that makes the culture any different because it looks just like the culture. I'm not saying that those kinds of systems don't do some good. Of course they do. I was a part of organized religion, quote unquote, in ministry for 10 years. I believe in it. Lots of what it gets done. Lots of the gifts that it gives. But Gordon said, don't self-promote so that everybody will see how special you are. One of the things that we've struggled with at Journey, in a good way, it's been a healthy struggle, is, Jesus said to people around him, don't tell everybody about this miracle that I just did, and don't try and make me king. I do not want to be king. That is not what this is for. And when it got too big, he would hide. But he also looked for ways to help people and sought groups of people to care for and to give good news to. He wanted to shine the light he had been given, and he did. A city on a hill can't be hidden. So don't light a lamp. He uses this other beautiful image. Don't light a lamp in your house to bring light into the house and then put it under a basket, or as the old saying says, a bushel. Don't light a lamp to bring light to the house and then put it under a basket. Put it on a table so that its light will fill the house. You light it to bring illumination and healing and knowledge into darkness. You are light, which God has lit, which God has given radiance to bring light to the world, to the powers that be, to your neighborhood, to the people you know, to Facebook, to Twitter, to arguments like masks and the economy and Black Lives Matter and politics. What you say on Facebook matters. And what you say in a conversation with friends matters. And what you say to the people that you love matters. What you do with the light you have been given matters. But guess what? You didn't make this light inside of you any more than you caused your heart to beat or caused your lungs to breathe. You are not in charge of this light. You are a steward of it, a keeper of it. You have been entrusted with it. He says, quit trying to hide. If there's something that needs to be said, say it. If there's something that needs to be done, do it. Shine your light. You can't not shine. If there's something that you have been entrusted with and you're supposed to use it for God, use it. That applies to money, brothers and sisters. This is a time of financial uncertainty. Use it well. We're in the time of a time of fundraising at Journey. We're not terribly behind, but we are behind. This is usually what happens in the late spring and summer, and we have a fundraiser and come back great, strong, which we will do again. Your money, your words, your time are your light to shine. 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 Yeah, but I'm not special. I don't know anything. I can't make anything different. You think those scruffy people Jesus was talking to are any more saintly than you are? Wrong. They're not saints, and neither are you or I. And yet we are the light of the cosmos. We are the radiant, healing, brilliant, life-giving, knowledge-imparting light that shines into the whole world. Right now. Right now. Right now.
But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light.
Journeyers, we're at that point of the service where we have to leave. It's over, we're done, we don't have any more songs, we don't have any more things about light, but we send you out into this world to be a light for your people. When Jesus taught his people saying, you are a light, what a weird thing that is. He's not saying, you are the sword of Scripture, you're this bad guy that can go out and save the people who are lost and broken. No, he says you're a light. And just by existing, you can prove of God's existence. Just by being you, you can shine through. So that's what we invite you to do this week. As we go into this fundraising campaign, we ask you to give because it'll help our light shine as a church. And it helps you use your light to shine even further. Let's all take one last deep breath together. Ready? Breathe in and out. Have courage, be kind, and let your light shine. Amen.
Amen.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Jesus gave me the light. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, Jesus gave me the light. I'm gonna let it shine. Jesus gave me the light. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.